Organizationally, the mission of an agency is very specific, and the request to spend the money is very clear, right? And what they're doing is evaluating whether the money and the project execution fits within the mission that is expected. The PMIS is the central hub to capture all the data, identify the current projects, the future projects, where they are in schedule, where they are in budget, and identify whether or not they're even value added. Most importantly is by centralizing that information, we can then turn around and answer the question, what is this for? Why is this here? What are we doing with this, right? And once we're able to tell the correct answers or identify the reason, that allows that organization to be able to proceed forward, centralizing that information, answering the questions. It's actually interesting because I do have a real world dynamic of that one, right? So I'm not going to speak about a particular agency, but an agency uses a lot of contractors to control all the information. At the end of the contract period, they're responsible for transitioning that data over. If that data doesn't come over or that data is incomplete, the agency has no idea. So what ends up happening is they're making decisions based on whatever information they have instead of the complete picture. It's really important, especially as we're moving into AI and ML and all the capabilities of enhanced data. You have to pull all the data in. You have to control that data. And there is actually two scenarios where contractors stated, you don't own the data, I keep the data, good luck. And it became a huge problem. The contract wasn't written for the agency to own the data. The biggest challenge that most organizations have is data sits across many different platforms. Many different platforms that do the same thing, many different platforms that do alternative things. And so all this data is distributed. The primary objective is to take all that data and put it in a central location. In order to get there, you have to cleanse it. So you have different ways operating systems operate, different locations for codes, different requirements that each tool has. That data could be a date form, could be different from one to another. Those types of differences have to be scrubbed in order to centralize the information and use it, okay? And what's the biggest challenge you're having right now is some of those tools are built, but we have no idea where that data sits, where that data table is. When you go old enough, some of the agency software sits on old mainframe platforms. We don't know where those data tables are. Audit failures are typically because information isn't available. That's number one issue, right? Second issue is the integration of data. So cost, schedule, if they're not integrated correctly through codes, whatever the reasoning is, APIs incorrect, data integrity not well, the information isn't filled out on one side, so it's not filling out on another side. But also errors that happen between that nobody's looking at and fixing, right? But the number one issue is the integration. The number two issue is availability of that data. When I operated as a control account manager, my biggest challenge was the information I needed for the audit was sitting in the cost tool, and I didn't have access to it. So then the audit happens, it's the first time I'm seeing this information. Huge problem on an audit, right? I need to be able to understand what it is, I need to have control of it, I'm supposed to sign it. So it's really having that centralized data. When we look at what Kahua has, it allows the user who is getting audited to have the data with them every day. They're not surprised when they see it. No matter how hard you try, people buy people. They buy who they know, they buy who they like. Qualifications start to drop a little, right? And I'm not saying they're non-existent. There are a lot of contracts that are awarded to first-time companies because of their qualifications. But if you really want to successfully integrate into this environment, this new agency, this organization, it's through a group of partners that all have different angles at that particular agency. And they can see these vulnerabilities, that's a huge item, right? We're solutioning problems instead of just saying, here's what we can do. So the best thing you can do today is try to figure out where's all the data and how to get it to you so that you can make that answer, right? That's the most important thing. So prepare yourself in terms of identify where the costs, where the schedule, where the funding, where everything's allocated, and understand the reason for it. Next, does it align with the mission that you have? Not what you had, what you have. And then be able to consolidate that in a way that you can answer the question when the organizations come in. When DOJ comes in and says, why is this happening? To be able to say, it's all here for you to review, and this is why we did it, this was the mission statement, and this is how much we've spent.